Mark's story of the crucifixion is incredibly stark. It's the first version to be recorded, and it has Mark's signature style of great simplicity and focus. There's no words wasted, there's no analysis and theologizing. And yet the clash of worlds and the clash of power is there for everyone to see. On one side, you have human power, represented in Mark's story by the palace, the governor's headquarters, the whole cohort of soldiers, the purple cloak, which is a sign of royalty, and the crown of thorns. Jesus is labelled King of the Jews, or perhaps more accurately, King of the Judeans, which has a more political ring to it, because Judeans were seen as uprisers and troublemakers. King of the Judeans. And the soldiers pay homage to him, and so they mock him. Mark's community are in no doubt that this was a political execution. Jesus is crucified between two bandits, not robbers, as it's sometimes translated. They're not the thieves that break into your house. These are bandits, armed rebels who steal and plunder from those in power. It's the same word that Jesus uses when he throws the money changers out of the temple. When he says, "You have made it into a den of robbers," he means you are just like the bandits roaming our roads. So that's the political power. And then there's religious power. Those who pass by mock him and remind him that he said that he would destroy the temple and build it again in 3 days. The chief priests seem to have the upper hand now. They're going to protect their temple. After Jesus dies, the curtain of the temple is torn in two. The curtain that separated the Holy of Holies from the rest of the temple. Only the high priest was allowed to go behind the curtain, which was where the Ark of the Covenant was kept. God himself was thought to dwell there. But the curtain is torn from top to bottom, not by human hands. And the account finishes with Joseph of Arimathea going to Pilate to ask for the body, just to go back to the political power again, to remind us about Pilate. Political and religious power triumph. Rowan Williams says, Good Friday presents us with a stark duality, human power, which is revealed as hostile to meaning and hope. Human power revealed as hostile to meaning and hope, and that divine meaning and hope exposed as completely vulnerable to human power. It seems that human power, whether political or religious, has triumphed. In the middle of Mark's account, we hear that great vulnerability of Jesus. My God, why have you forsaken me? Mark has darkness cover the land to emphasize this darkest of hours. There's nothing left. The politics don't matter. The religious debates don't matter. All is lost. Jesus is alone and forsaken. Like a mother holding her dying child, or like a refugee in Syria with no food, a father who cannot feed his children, or like a child cowering in a school cupboard as another shooter is on the rampage in the United States. My God, why have you forsaken me? The Gospel writers, Matthew and Mark, include the words, my God, why have you forsaken me? Luke and John do not. Maybe they thought they were too stark. Maybe they couldn't bear to think of Jesus so alone. Yet I think these words are the heart of today, of Good Friday. They tell us that God does not flinch from pain, our pain. It's real, it's not pretend. One of the early heresies of the church was that Jesus didn't really die, he just kind of slipped away afterwards. And so Mark in his account has Pilate double check with the centurion that Jesus is really dead. Yes, the centurion says, he is really dead. Divine meaning and hope exposed as completely vulnerable to human power. And so we might ask why. What was the reason for all this? Some grand plan? We always have to remember that the gospel writers are writing after the fact. They know about the resurrection, and they aren't writing history as we would understand it. So we need to be careful of some of the words that are of prediction that are put in Jesus' mouth. Like in Mark 10, when he says they will mock him and spit upon him and kill him, and in 3 days he will rise again. It sounds like a pure prediction of Good Friday from Jesus. But I think that Jesus, in the moment on Good Friday, does feel completely forsaken. He is dying. He does not know what will come. It's not pretend suffering. And so Rowan Williams says all that we can then do is to keep silent before the cross. He says all there is our own stillness, learning to look death in the face. We look at death, and because we find God there, then we are not afraid. It's not that we don't suffer, we do. It's not that we do not feel our pain and the pain of others, we do. But we are not afraid. Rowan Williams says the cross is the darkness in which God is allowed to be God, in which the world descending into inner chaos returns to the very moment of creation when God speaks into the darkness. Our silence, our acceptance of the death of creation and the death of Jesus makes room then for the word that recreates the broken world.